Okay, welcome to Yeshua's King Ministry. Um, Sorry I haven't been doing. I didn't do one last week, a sermon, but I'm done. I'm doing it this week, and this is number 10. Last one was number 9. You might want to listen to that one because that's talking about debt and all this craziness that they're talking about in Washington or anywhere else, or this world itself deals with fake debt, folks. There, I'm not saying that you can go into a store and take what you want and not have to pay for it. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about when it came to that, I'm just going to go from there, is there is no such thing as perpetual debt. People cannot, human beings cannot put other human beings in debt forever, which is how that Federal Reserve System is operating. Okay. And I know they deal with, I think it was 4 quadrillion. It's either per year or per day. I can't remember on that last report. But I don't want to, tell you something that it's not. And I know they believe that um, they're infallible when you make that kind of money. Most people are. In other words, money changes people. Okay, and most of these people that have that kind of money per day that they deal with, or even per year, moving that kind of money makes them feel extremely important, and they feel more superior to everyone. Okay, so all right, there we go. And that's why you get what you get today. That's why you're being treated the way you're being treated. Basically, you're being treated like crap on a daily basis, and they have a superiority complex. Most of these people do. If what you feel, say, if you're with Yeshua, okay, and Yeshua is within you, and if based on how that is, because of Yeshua, you would be have that attitude. But these people have an attitude of because they deal with money, but it's all money that they created themselves. They're using people to create their money and then walking around as if they're superior to others. And that's what's happening. Now, what I just described would be considered a character. That's a character. Anybody that works with the Federal Reserve is a basic character. Okay. By the way, I'm looking for people um, to help with creating a full-fledged monarchy government with all the titles and possibly the emblems that go with each office, everything that it would be entail. Okay, because we're not actually completed. The reign of the heavens isn't completed, and the assembly of Elohim isn't completed. Um, and this is going to move very slowly. So we're going to create an office, and then we'll give it an emblem, and then what it does and its function, and all these things. They have knights, and they have all these different positions. Okay, in different in monarchs. So the king's knights and the king's this and the king's that. I wanted to go through and create from the reign of the heavens, from his word and his commands, a whole full-fledged government, parliament, and the whole deal. So I thought maybe, we're sitting here waiting for him to come back. Well, he doesn't have a government right now to come back to, does he? Because people hadn't prepared themselves. They don't have their lamp oil filled, if, per se, if y'all get what I'm saying. And so his bride isn't being maintained. All the people are making their own governments, but they're not making his. So I thought maybe that would be a good thing. All right, let's get back to the other. Okay, the Federal Reserve. I'm just taking from that particular scenario. Now, You have what they call right now, you have a bunch of people that are that believe that there's a United States, and they believe that there's a president there, and they believe that they're all a part of it, and they believe they're U.S. citizens. And in our deprogramming, we talk about the fact that there is no such thing on the planet. There's no constitution on the planet that recognizes the condition of a U.S. citizen. It was simply made up. That's hard to deal with people. That's serious. That's a serious thing to have to deal with in your head. There's no such status, folks. There's a citizen of the United States. I'll give you that. And that Constitution has been around for a couple of hundred years. That's fine. But there is no U.S. citizen. Tom talks about this all the time on Friday Call. Okay. You can get into Constitution Q&A on Telegram and listen to the presentation he has on Friday evenings. What time is that, Tom? Is he there?
Usually 8 o'clock Eastern, but it's only once a month now, so it's going to be on the 21st of this
Okay.
month.
Now he talks about this. All right. He talks about what what you don't know, and kind of wakes you up a little bit. But there's even more of an awakening that you have to have. So basically, you hear all these people that have been saying that you do not know yourself and that you've been raised in a delusion. And they have all these different scenarios. They have the matrix scenario. Oh, you've been living in a simulation. Um, there's a matrix theory that the whole thing is this, this, and this. Well, that's a very serious thing that you have to deal with. But there's also a society. And I remember when I was young, they would have the national anthem every night. I think it was either 12 or 1, it was 12 to 6. The TV would go off. All you hear is boo, like this for about 6 hours. Then 6 in the morning, they'll all come back on. And nobody, a lot of people don't remember that. But in the national anthem, they have the wording, they put the wording out, da, 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 that wording, and then they would change it. Government's a god. Government's this. The U.S. government's a god. All this kind of stuff. Subliminal messaging. Okay. Now, what am I actually describing? I'm describing your atmosphere, your condition as you were growing up. And you were told a lot of things that just weren't true. And you're seeing them now. It's freaking everybody out. And you're seeing all the lies that you were raised with. Now, you formed a personality from all those lies. It's okay to sleep for one with one woman or another. There's nothing wrong with that. What are y'all talking about? Owner of Playboy said it was okay. He's the man. He's fun. That formed your personality. That wasn't who you were. Y'all get that? That's not who you are. That's not how you were made and how you were created. You were created with a pure heart. But there was a curse that came with Adam. Okay, when Adam was cursed and Eve were cursed and they were thrown out of the garden. That curse has been telling you who you are, making you believe that you love cigarettes, making you believe that you love Budweiser beer that tastes like piss water, the worst beer in the world. They can come sue me. I don't care. Good luck on getting anything. It's just horrible. It tastes horrible to me. And most people just sit there and drink that stuff, and they'll drink it and drink it. And I'm like, man, what is wrong with you guys? It has been placed into their personality. They do not know themselves. They don't know who they are. I remember hearing it from, and yeah, I'll bring up the Matrix movie when he's talking to the Oracle, and there's a sign above his head that says "Know yourself." It's written, I think, it's Latin. Not sure, can't remember. Been a long time since I've seen it. I've seen it like late. I don't know when it first came out, and it was a long time ago. When an airplane hit a tower, had actually two towers, and they showed it over and over and over. That was a psyop. When something's happening over and over and over on television, they're doing a psyop. The reason why they're doing that is they want to scare you. Now, when you have that's the basics of terrorism, scaring a country into compliance with a certain way of doing things, changing society with fear. And that's what George Bush and Dick Cheney did. That's what he did. He knew what was happening. They knew for a fact that the airplane never hit the Pentagon. They know that. And there's even tape now that shows the missile hitting the Pentagon. An airplane never crashed, never hit there. So the Pentagon was not a victim in this. The Pentagon was the one that was directing it. All the crashes, everything that was happening, they were directing the whole thing. So they had to hit their own building so to make you think that they were under attack. You ever wonder why everything's always hitting Manhattan Island? Godzilla movies, Manhattan Island. Everything always hits that island. In so many movies throughout your lifetime, as you're growing up, it always attacks New York. That is a way of manipulating you and changing your mind as to who you truly are. You don't know who you are because your mind has been manipulated by delusions. That's your answer. What are you? Right now, you are an individual, man or a woman, that has been deluded with delusions, that does not know the truth. And that's going to cause your internal heart of hearts. It's going to cause your the set apart spirit to be in you, and to be in constant turmoil. You can't get rest when you don't know the truth. That's like if somebody you love disappears and you don't find out what happened to them until 30 years later. You then once you know that they, what happened to them, you can rest. You're good to go. So Yeshua says, I'm the way, the truth, and life. He is not going to make things happen to you. He's not going to do that so that you don't know yourself. What he does do is put you in scenarios, in certain things, especially if you're on the narrow way, that you can deal with the truth, and he doesn't move very fast because your mind cannot handle being woken up that fast. Your body can't handle it. A man or a woman cannot understand who and what they are, who or what you are, until you start to see the ways that you've been manipulated into lying and lying about yourself. This whole sexual revolution in the 60s and 70s, that's not who you guys are. And the ladies are figuring out, you know what? I don't really want to go to work. I would love to stay home, take care of children. The woman is actually coming back to the home. The woman is actually beginning to come back to the home because she's starting to realize that all that crap that you were told in the 70s and 80s was complete crap. Now the women that are in their 50s and 60s and very successful, rich women, they missed out. They missed out on everything. No children, no nothing. They don't have any family. Nobody gives a crap about them. Society doesn't want them because they don't care. The men are all going after the women that are 20s and 30s. They want the younger women. That's a fact. That realization came out in the last 3 years. And the guys are figuring out, you know what? It's not cool, man. It is not cool to be going around sleeping around on your wife. It's not cool to do that. Family is better. So you're seeing a bunch of men that just want a family and they don't want to go bed hopping. You see, the truth, that's who you really are. The people are Adam and Eve together. Okay. They're together. One man, one woman. And they stick together. She's a helpmate. She's a companion for him. Because his father saw him. He goes, you know what? It's not good for him to be alone. I'm going to make him a companion. And that's what the father saw. Put him to sleep, took him from a rib. I get all that. We can go into that later, all right, to find out what the truth is behind that. The fact that there are other beings here. And the one thing that Yeshua did tell me, and I'll tell you this, he says, James, he says, he picked us. Our Father in heaven picked us for the inheritance. I said, you mean our kind? He said, yes, who we are. That means there are others. There are other different people. Angels are not necessarily human beings. They call them angels, but they're not. I mean, they're not. They're something completely different. A lot of weird stuff out there, guys. And we are not. We don't see those. We don't see those things. Imagine seeing an angel with a bunch of eyeballs on it, just out there in the sky. And everybody's going, "Oh crap! What the hell is that? Let's shoot it." Because that's what they usually do. I don't understand what it is, so we'll shoot it and figure it out after it's dead. You've been manipulated on a grand scale. It was something that was a line of Mr. Cooper, Bill Cooper, before he died. You've been manipulated on a grand scale. I used to listen to him. He was a good man. Alex Jones at that time was a idiot. Nobody respected him. But the next generation came through, and they started listening to what Alex Jones was talking about, and thought he was the source of it, when in fact he was not. See, that's one another lie. Everybody thought Alex Jones was doing that. Alex Jones wasn't doing any of that. So you have to realize you've been lied to. You ever notice that they don't hang around him very much? Talking about Trump and all them. Yeah, he doesn't hang with them too much. So let's go back into a couple of other delusions that we've been living under. There were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, yet it killed over 50 something thousand people. That's soldiers. We're not talking about the Iraqi people themselves, which means everyone here, unless rebuked in the name of Yeshua, is responsible for every one of those Iraqis that died. You're responsible for all those murders. There were no weapons of mass destruction. The whole country was put on hold. Has anybody ever seen a president say, okay, this is what I'm going to do? I'm going to attack your country on this date and this time. He set a date and a time that we're going to obliterate you. This is the fifth largest military in the world, so everybody got nervous. They don't want to see their kids dying and coming home with no legs and stuff. That affected you. It changed who you are. So I rebuke what George Bush Sr. did in the name of Yeshua. Whatever he did to affect my life and affect my personality and affect anything that he did to keep me from the truth, which is what he did. Because in fact, there were no weapons of mass destruction. This was about oil and trafficking kids. That's all it was. And maybe in the second Iraq war, his son trying to get revenge. See, Daddy, you'll love me now. I killed the big bad man over in Iraq. That was George Bush Jr. He was an alcoholic. Why? Because the man doesn't know himself. He lived with a complete liar, which was his dad. There is no telling if he would have put him with a farmer, what he would have come out like. There's no telling. He may have come out a really good guy. I have a feeling the reason why he drinks is because he's really deep down a really good guy. And he's been pulled into this lying fest. Every lie that you have heard in your lifetime affects you. How is it that you can know yourself and be at peace with yourself if you have no idea what the truth is? And I'm not saying, oh, we live in a big matrix. I'm not saying that. The sun comes, looks and appears as if it comes up and down. That's not what's happening. The earth is rotating. It's not flat. Okay. Oh, sun's coming up. No, it's not. It appears as if it's coming up. Even that little simple delusion will change the way you see things and change who you are to where you don't know yourself. So anytime somebody says the sun's coming up or the sun's going down, that's a delusion. That's not real. It's a complete bold-faced lie. I mean, seriously, bold-faced lie that affects the way you think and how you see things. So you have the set apart spirit. And this is why the set apart spirit's here. He tells you the truth, teaches you what the truth really is. And you're going to fight that because that's the lies have become your personality. You believe you want cigarettes, most horrific, poisonous stick that you put in your mouth every day. Might as well just go drink rat poison. And you're talking from a guy who smoked 36 years, 37 years. So I'm not this anti-smoker thing. I was just pulled out of that delusion that I liked it. I didn't. Stunk. Fingers were yellow. You can't get them off. You have to take like 50 showers in order to get all that crap off of you. And even after you stop smoking, 6 weeks later, you're still emitting smoke and nicotine. It takes a while to clean you up. But once you do, you're really glad it's done because it's no longer a part of your personality. You don't know yourself if you believe in the delusion of cigarettes, if you believe in the delusion of beer, liquor, all those things. You drink that crap every day or all day or whatever. You live in that delusion. And that delusion affects your life and affects who you are. I remember seeing people back in the day. I was in living or in Orlando, Florida, and I remember seeing people that I knew like during the day, and then at night they would get drunk and be completely different. They would even look different. They would get so pee on yourself drunk that it was you didn't know who or what they were. Then the next day you look at them, hey, how you doing? Pretty good. How are you? No problem whatsoever. Completely different person. They didn't see that. I was living in delusions myself, so it really didn't bring it to my attention until now. If people died around you, that's an effect. The death does affect you. If it's a death of a pet or a death of an animal or a death of a mother and father and uh, grandparents, whoever, it affects you. These are things that um, are delusions because in essence there is no death. The body, there's just a spirit that leaves the body. That's it. It didn't die. The spirit lives on. You being separate from your body, in other words, if you realize that you're actually within a human body and you can be removed from it and brought back and all those things, once you realize that, then you're starting to see the truth about yourself, about who and what you are. If you see it with just the body, and well, when I'm dead, guess what? You don't die. You'll live on. There's so many testimonies like that people said I saw myself floating above the body. You know what was funny is I always thought of that. And the one thing that they didn't tell you is how you move from one place to another. It's like you're floating in midair and you have nothing that you can grab onto. But these are things sometimes it hits my head. I know it sounds crazy, but it's a thought. It's like, well, what do we do? Do we swim? Are you trying to flap your wings? How do we move from one place to another? Must be thought. Okay, that we can move with thought. If that's the case, why can't people see you? Now, there's another illusion there. Why can't they see you? Well, it's because you're probably in another place, which means that you have gone to another dimension. So, oh, there's a clue. I may be an interdimensional being, that I can move from one dimension to another. And what keeps me in this dimension is being inside of a human body. I know that sounds new agey, but please, I'm not going there. I cannot stand new agers. Pretty soon they're gonna. I'm not going toward nowhere near. Oh, and you're a god. Come on, give it a rest. Not going there. Not going the Joel Olstein. Okay, where you can be your own master. You can be anything you want. Not true. I cannot be a brain surgeon. I'd like to be a brain surgeon, be kind of cool, but I cannot be one. And amazing that they fit these characters. And if this guy does study and he gets this degree and everything, he can become a brain surgeon. And I'm thinking, there's no such thing as a brain surgeon. There's a guy that cuts people's heads open and works on them because he understands it, but that's not a brain. They create the character. I'm a brain surgeon. So everybody around him, oh wow, you're a brain surgeon. That's amazing. You're all this and you're all that. And he always attracts the woman that says, I want to live with a brain surgeon. I don't care how long you're at the hospital. I get to stay home and spend your money. They always attract that woman. Why? Because it's the way the society has created people. You can influence that, which influences you, which makes you live in a delusion that somebody else freaking created. Go watch a 1987 video on YouTube. Put 1987 mall. So what you don't realize is the camera that's recording all that is giant. Okay, it's giant and it's on your shoulder. I had one. I know what I'm talking about. So you go there, and at that moment and in that time, everybody was living and on credit cards. They thought it was the greatest thing in the world. So they would go there and credit cards going through the roof. They're sliding. It's not a sliding the car. Okay, the card used to come in the mail, and then it would go on this card reader, and it would be imprinted on some carbon paper. Then that went to the bank, and then the bank would process that, and it took like 3 or 4 days for it to come through and show up on your account. You didn't have an online account. That there was no such online. There's no such thing as an online. So they would send you the card in the mail, the everything that was happening in the mail, the account, the what you charged on your account, blah blah blah, an account readout. Someone gave them the delusion that they could bring a card in, put it in a carbon thing, slide it, and buy something with it. That's a delusion. And it changed the way that it came out in the movies. And they were pushing this idea. And it was simply an idea, it's a complete delusion. The whole 1980s era and 1990s era created characters. That's all they did. It was that simple. And you lived in those characters. You never sought Yeshua. You never tried to go down the narrow way. You never understood what the set apart spirit was. You didn't, and then the people that did were called crazy. Oh, you guys are in a delusion. The delusion is calling the delusion a delusion, living in a delusion. When the one who was going towards Yeshua and the set apart spirit was now coming out of a delusion. I remember when computers were just coming out. I went to a 1996 convention with computers, and everybody in there thought they were the biggest experts on the planet. It actually irritated me at the time because I was coming out of a delusion. And I started listening to these guys, and they're all just repeating what these guys that actually create the chips and all that are saying. That's all they were doing, just parroting them. They were repeating that what they were told and thought they were so smart, the smartest guys in the world. And I'd hear them from one table to the next. And then I would go over, I went up and I bought a computer. I needed a new one. I bought a new one. It was like $150 at the time. Not a big deal because it was a wholesale place. And I thought I had the most advanced computer that there was for like 5 years. But it had changed so quickly that 5 years later, mine was obsolete. Until WordPress come out, people were having issues creating websites. Had to go through this big long thing. But either way, it was still a delusion. Because somebody's idea came out and it started influencing everything you know about yourself. And people naturally want to be what is popular. Okay. Here's your delusion. Here's one more. I could sit and do this all night, all day. What delusions that you've been living under. So it's going to take time for you guys. And maybe, once every week, I'll come out with more delusions, things I remember that happened. Okay. Say you like Trump. Okay. And very first thing that the guy does is come out with the data center and AI. We really need to be the best, okay, in the world. Well, that's your idea. I'm not going to live in that delusion. You live in the delusion. You stay there, okay? And then you're going to tell me it's the greatest thing. We have to do this. We don't have to do anything. We can sit back and watch you do it, okay? We know they've been worried about chips, all that kind of thing. So what I saw the other day was unbelievable. Mary Kay Baxter, a woman from back in the 78 or 79, claimed that Yeshua brought her to hell for 40 days every night. And there were times in that point that she couldn't take it. She was like begging him, please don't take me. He says, you have to know this. You have to explain this to people. People have to believe there is, in fact, a hell. He says, we're losing people because they don't believe that there's a hell, that there's some kind of eternal a punishment. They didn't get it. So there was a story that came out one of her visions and one of her, because she did leave her body. Okay. That happened for 40 something days, but later on, he was speaking to her in visions. And uh, when you, one of them was there was a machine that was created and it was being operated um, by the son of the devil. Okay. The Antichrist. And he showed her what was happening. And people, just like you and I, okay, were walking and marching to work and back. Everybody marched together. And how this happened is that they would be all depressed and everything. And um, the Antichrist would tell them, I can take all that away from you. You won't remember a thing. You'll be just fine. For the rest of your life, you'll be happy. It was a machine that could put thoughts in people's minds. It can erase memories and put new memories in. What I was shown came my direction. It was a new type of prison will allow inmates to serve years of their sentence in a matter of minutes. I remember a show about that back in the 80s. It was Outer Limits show that they could take the worst guy in the world and he thought he spent 25 years in jail but never did. Okay. Now, Cognify is AI reprogramming of the minds of those sentenced to prison for heinous crimes. They always start out with the criminals, folks, to get this into society. They always do. If they know something like this is being operated and done this way, this is human. These are human rights violations. Can't do this. This machine can't even legally exist. So Cognify has the ability to replace memories and behaviors with new improved ones. New and improved. You get a better memory. So we're going to go from one delusion, many, many, many delusions as you're growing up, to this delusion. It says this is very dangerous as it has the ability to create whatever it wants in people. How many would sell their soul for a little bit of freedom? How many do you think will do this? Voluntary. Let me show you. Let me get this. See if I can get this to share. And I put this on the group that we have and said, here's the mark. Now, this particular machine was in one of her visions back in the 80s. And I've been looking for this machine for a while. I've been looking for this, waiting for this to come out.
This is wild. Cognify is a new concept for prison reform where criminals would have the choice to choose. This is wild. Cognify is a new concept for prison reform where criminals would have the choice to choose between spending tens of years behind bars or instead opt to have AI artificial memories implanted into their brain. The idea is to treat criminals like patients. And
can y'all hear that?
Yes.
Okay.
Permanently change their brain chemistry by implanting these artificial memories so that when they re-enter society, they are a new and completely reformed person who mentally cannot commit any more crimes. The way that it works is that depending on the severity of the crime, AI would design these false memories to be implanted that would make the person more empathetic, or in some circumstances, make them physically and emotionally feel the pain of their victims and their victims' families. Even though this process only takes about 7 minutes, to the subject, it would feel like it had been years. Last year, the United States government spent $8.7 billion of taxpayer money on the prison system. This whole process would cut that spend significantly, and we could use that extra money on healthcare, education, and other technology advancements. Not to mention, you would have a whole new group of rehabilitated.
Boom. All right. That machine has the ability to do that. So what it's going to be used for, if you walk into this office, I'm just depressed. I can't handle my life. I'm this, I'm that, wah, wah, wah. Okay. And you were never raised correctly. You just whine and whine. They put you in the machine. They remove all your memories and put new ones in. And Total Recall was correct. They had a brand new Total Recall. There was 2 of them that were made. And everything was a delusion there. So they're playing with the idea of delusions. They're playing with the idea of the money. And now that right there, that machine is what implants the mark of the beast in you. If you get in that machine voluntarily, you're done. You're done. You're not going to go. There's no heaven for you. You took the mark and you're done. Fair warning, just letting you know. Don't get in that machine. I'm just trying to tell you. Don't even get curious about it. Don't go to a some kind of mall or shopping center or this and say, "Oh, hey, let's go on vacation." No. Don't do that. They're going to make it like it's cool and it works and this is great and man, I feel wonderful and all this, you'll never feel better. Don't do it. There's a way to do that. The way to do that is to be baptized by the set apart spirit and let the set apart spirit remove all these delusions from you so you can find out who you truly are and what you truly are. The one that made you speaks through his son, and the set apart spirit is within you. That's how you find out. And it's rough, very tough to do, very tough to go through, but it's worth it. Thanks for listening. This was number 10th sermon from the Yeshua is King ministry. Please support the ministry. We take crypto. I believe there's a crypto donation on YeshuaIsKingMinistries.com. And if you're interested in operating outside of the system, we teach you private membership associations and trust outside of the not well actually is kind of the whole ministry, and how to operate in that way at the limited liability status. So we teach you how to do that. So you're welcome to go to the genoainstitute.com and take a look. Thanks for listening to everything. We've got some really cool stuff coming up. I don't want to spoil it for you, so I'll be quiet, and we'll see you next week.